Nation, what's going on? It's Mitchell Renz here, host of the Raiders Report, and the Silver and Black are re-signing cornerback Darnay Holmes. Coming up here on today's show, I'm going to tell you what you need to know about this signing, because this was somebody that was on the Raiders last season. They are bringing him back. But I have said this multiple times. When the Raiders end up making a move, make sure you're subscribed. Make sure those notifications are turned on, because we're going to give you everything that you need to know around this type of breaking news. And some of y'all might go, Mitch, man, calling Darnay Holmes breaking news is pushing it a little bit. But you know what? When you cover this team as closely as close as what we are, and they bring somebody back, I do want to be able to talk about it. So let's first talk about Holmes and the season that he had last season with the Las Vegas Raiders. 30 tackles, 0 INTs, 3 PBUs. When you look at his overall PFF grade, it is a 54.1, a run defense grade of 70.7, a coverage grade last season of only 49.5. Now with the addition of Holmes, though, here is what our updated Raiders cornerback depth chart looks like. The Raiders obviously added Eric Stokes earlier this offseason, and one of the things that this team is really trying to do is add competition to every single spot. There's still a lot of unknown players on this list up here. I got some faith in Ja'Cory Bennett, who was the Raiders' top cornerback last season, but Holmes is going to come in there, and he's going to go out there and try to compete with everybody that we already got. And I always say this. When the Raiders do something this offseason, they've done it so many times, you got to sit back and you got to go, where's the connection? Where exactly is the connection with Darnay Holmes? And here's the thing. He doesn't only have one connection with this staff. He doesn't even really only have 2 connections with this staff. I would sit up here and say that he's got 3 different types of connections with this staff. And I'm going to tell you what those 3 are. But first, I want you to go down and grade the re-signing of Darnay Holmes. It is a 1-year deal. I do not have the contract details out yet. Literally, Jordan Schultz just DM'd me and said, hey, man, I don't know if you saw this. Yes, Jordan, I'm already making the video. A, B, C, D, or F. Grade the signing of Darnay Holmes. My answer is coming up here in just a moment. I'm going to give this a C grade. It is an average move overall. This is a depth piece. But where are the relationships? Well, Holmes, for those that do not know, was a 4th-round pick back in 2020 to the New York Giants. So right there off the jump, there is a Patrick Graham connection. But I don't know if you all noticed what college Holmes ended up going to. He went to UCLA, where Chip Kelly was the head coach from 2018 to 2023. So you got Chip Kelly connection, you got Patrick Graham connection, but then also you have a connection with this Raiders secondary and the entire Raiders defense on top of that. Holmes was a player that I talked about a bunch last season that I almost wondered if the Raiders could try to bring in, because I knew it wasn't going all that well with the New York Giants. So could he come over to Las Vegas? And when he ended up coming over, again, it was an okay overall move. What you're hoping for, though, is Holmes gets better in the coverage game. And in 2023, he had a 68.7 PFF coverage grade. He has really struggled, I would say, in that area. But if there is one thing that Pete Carroll and this regime, I do think has done a very solid job of throughout their entirety of their career, is being able to help cornerbacks get it going. I don't think that Darnay is going to be somebody that's going to be a starter by any stretch of the imagination. He's somebody that's going to be fighting for a 53-man roster spot. But when you have that many connections, and you can say what you want about Holmes, he is going to provide a lot of spark. He is a very competitive dude. This is not a signing that's going to get a lot of people excited, right? It's why it didn't go live. But it is a good depth move, and you had to sit there and go, where was the connection? Chip Kelly, Patrick Graham, that's the connection. Also, I got to give a shout-out to our sponsor here, Prize Picks, America's #1 daily fantasy sports app out there. Quite frankly, this is like my favorite time of the year for Prize Picks. This is also one of my favorite times of the year for sports. Now, I get it. Raiders football is still a long ways away, but college basketball is here, and the fact that we're going to be able to start watching some of these games, I am really excited. All you got to do is pick more or less. It is really that easy. And if you download the app today, use code CLNS, you're going to be able to get $50 instantly after you play your first $5 lineup. Sign up today and get $50 instantly. When you play $5, you don't even need to win to receive the $50 bonus. It's guaranteed. Download the app today. Use code CLNS to get $50 instantly after you play your first $5 lineup. Prize Picks, run your game. If you're trying to run your game with a Raiders lineup, again, these are the only 2 players that have a more or less right now for the Silver and Black. That is at least the last time that I checked Prize Picks. So you can go Geno Smith, passing touchdowns, passing yards. Brock Bowers, receiving yards, receiving touchdowns. I personally think that all 4 of these could end up being more, but I wanted to just show it that this is technically not a line, not even technically, this is not a lineup that you can even do. You can only pick a player once, and you can only do a player. Like if we went Brock Bowers, Geno, we'd also have to add another player from another team. But I just wanted to be able to show y'all right now Prize Picks for Raiders fans. There's some good value out there. So again, this link's going to be available to y'all down in the comments, down in the description of today's show, prizepicks.com/CLNS. So now with the addition of Darnay Holmes, we're going to go quickly through what the Raiders have done in free agency. And the one thing that I said earlier, relationships. Why is that key? Alex Cappa, he was the very first move the Raiders made. John Spytek was a big reason why he was drafted in Tampa Bay. There's the connection. Maxx Crosby, if I got to explain that one to you, then this is the first time you've ever turned into the show. Geno Smith, Pete Carroll in that regime. Adam Butler, Patrick Graham, Rob Leonard, brought him back. Jeremy Chinn, he was with Dan Quinn last season, had a career year out there in Washington. Dan Quinn was the defensive coordinator for Pete Carroll. Malcolm Koonce ended up bringing him back. Lonnie Johnson Jr. spent 2023, which mainly people say is probably his best year, with Marcus Robinson, with Joe Woods, who are both on our defensive squad. Elandon Roberts. Rob Leonard, again, was a big-time coach for Elandon, had a lot of connections on top of that. Eric Stokes is the one player where I'm sitting here going, I don't remember exactly what the Eric Stokes connection is. I think that they just wanted to be able to add a former first-round pick who fits that athletic build, fits that competitive nature. Raheem Mostert was with Chip Kelly back in 2015, back in 2016, and now Darnay Holmes ends up getting re-signed. I know that a lot of Raiders fans want to see this team do a lot because we have money, and at the moment that I'm making this video, we'll see what the Holmes contract is. It's not going to be a lot of money. If I had to imagine, it's probably in the $1.2, $1.5 million range. And this morning when I woke up, we still had top 7 money overall in salary cap. The dead money, I think, is one of the reasons why the Raiders are playing it a little bit more safe, so that way they're not having all this dead money rolled year after year after year, cleaning up the mess left behind by a lot of these other regimes. And when you bring in a player like Holmes, that's kind of what you're trying to do. You're going, yeah, I would have liked to add a little bit more talent, but I'm bringing in a player that knows the system already and has a good relationship with multiple coaches on this defensive staff. So when you talk about a lot of the players that the Raiders have lost in free agency, those were big signings, right? Robert Spillane, Trevon Merrick, it hurts losing those people. Losing out on a Harrison Bryant, losing out on an Alexander Madison, losing out on a Marcus Epps. I hear Raiders fans loud and clear. But also teams that really value themselves and their ability to draft also look at comp picks. And the Raiders are going to be able to get an extra 4th, an extra 5th, an extra 6th next season because, yeah, they missed out on some of those, but they're also so confident in their own ability. If you didn't see the video that I dropped earlier today, it was around some new free agent targets. And I'll be real, I didn't put Darnay Holmes in here because Darnay Holmes wasn't a big enough name to make this video. So these are all names that are players that I would consider from top to bottom. I tell you which positions I want the Raiders to target in free agency and which positions I'm saying save it for the draft. This video is going to be available to y'all down in the comments section. So one more time, and then I'm going to get the heck out of here. Darnay Holmes is back with the Las Vegas Raiders on a 1-year deal. The connection with Patrick Graham, the connection with Chip Kelly, it does make a lot of sense of why they decided to bring him back. We will see if he ends up making that 53, but adding the utmost competition to that DB room is the number one thing that I think that this signing should say, on top of the fact that you should think this is a relationship-based league. Appreciate all y'all tuning in. I'm about to also drop a video on Instagram and on Twitter at Mitchell Renz 365 with some extra thoughts around the signing or re-signing of Darnay Holmes.